Hey, it's just so Trish, and today I want to talk to you about our homeschool field trip to the state capitol with 4-H. So it was pretty darn amazing. If you caught some of our stuff on Instagram, last week we went to the state capitol. So we had quite an amazing journey. The really cool part was I like to travel by myself. I'm not gonna lie, I do like to travel by myself. We could have taken a bus, but I like to be in my own time frame, even if it's pretty exhausting. So the whole deal was each day, I know that our homeschool convention does this. I know that 4-H does this. But and several different organizations will do a day where everybody from that organization will go to the state capitol. And then there's little activities to do when you're up there, the whole 9 yards. So this was our first time going. And we went with 4-H. And it was amazing. So there's about 840 kids that signed up to go to the state capitol, which was one of their largest ones ever. And it was really neat because there was like a dress code you had to be part of. You and you had a shirt so everybody matched. Then there was an event schedule, and then you're supposed to go meet your representatives. So what was really neat was the fact that we paired up with the right people. I hate to say it like that, like there's the right people, but we paired up with folks that were busy not lobbying. We were there to educate about 4-H. And I will tell you, this day for us was supposed to run from 8:30 to 3:30. Our day ran from 8 to 5 o'clock. And then even after that. So what made this amazing, because this was definitely an eye-opener for civics and an eye-opener for government for my kids, and the whole process in which the way government works. I don't know, it was just, I stand there as mom, and like everything I soaked in was just like, and then I'm like, okay, I need to tell you your points, but it was so incredible. So we went to Tallahassee because we're in Florida. We got to Tallahassee, and I will tell you, we got there nice and early, around 8 a.m., 7:30, 8 a.m., and I could not figure out if we were coming or going. I couldn't figure out where everything was. That kind of was a little intimidating for me. And I'm not used to traffic. I mean, like, there's no traffic. I'm not really used to traffic. So I'm downtown Tallahassee. I parked at the Doubletree Hilton, because there was a parking garage, and I paid for the day there. I come out, and I'm just like, which way do I go? I will tell you, my saving grace was just having a binder. It's a little binder. It wasn't much. And I put the guide for the day there. I did not think to print out a map. That would have been really helpful. So I'm calling everybody I know, and I'm just like, which way do I go? So I get in the right direction. We get to the Capitol, because in Florida you have the Capitol, and then there's a building on each side. One is the House of Representatives and one is the Senate. And then across, and then there's like a little courtyard that kind of U's around. And then the other side of that U is the original Capitol, is the historical Capitol, which is really neat too, which was my kids enjoyed touring the original Capitol. So we get there, and they do opening ceremonies, and you have this huge crowd. I'll have to share that on Instagram of 4-Hers. And they do an opening ceremony. And so it was really neat to drive up there. We actually met other 4-Hers. It was really funny because I had hashtagged the back of the van, and we're driving on I-10, and we're almost to Tallahassee, and this car drives by, and they're hanging out of the van, out of the window, the mom is, and she's like, we're with 4-H too. And we ended up stopping, and they went ahead of us, and we ended up kind of reconnecting at the rest area. And so we got talking, so we had the hashtag, of course, homeschool moms. She was a homeschool mom too. Homeschool moms, 4-Hing it. We were like instant friends. It was like, that's all we needed. That's all we needed. We were doing Tallahassee, instant friends. She was just amazing. So was her husband and her son. Oh my goodness, just a doll. And it was really neat, because here's the thing about 4-H that people don't get. it is not all agriculture. It's not, what do they call it? Cows, sows, and plows, cows, and sows. I think they say it's not that. That's FFA. Because this family is downtown Miami 4-Hing it, you know, and it was really cool because we got a lot of time to talk about their projects that they're doing. And for him, he's doing this Amelia Earhart 4-H program. And then he got talking and he built submarines. You know, with 4-H. With 4-H, that's what he does. He builds submarines. So we went ahead and we got, and what was neat was last year I think I talked about the fact that Florida lost $1 million in the budget. And they lost $1 million in the budget because they took the way that they usually are funded in this blanket program and they line itemed it. And when they line itemed it, it got vetoed. And that $1 million was essentially several programs and 10 state level staff members. So in that time they lost 2. And what happened was the University of Florida took their budget that they would maintain their infrastructure for a year, and they kind of rescued 4-H, but they can't do it again this year. So our job was to go up there while we're there and just educate. We were not there to lobby, but we were there to educate, and it was really neat. In the program guide, they did this walkthrough. So they kind of had like a setup, like how to make appointments with your reps and your legislatures, and then what your talking points are. And that was really nice because it gave us the drive up there to really talk and polish our talking points. Because, you know, my kids are middle school. Like 2 of my kids are middle school. My other one is elementary school, 4th grade. And now they're going to go actually talk to representatives and senators. And I needed to prepare them. But I was thankful because 4-H had gone through the work that talked about, you know, what 4-H projects and programs you participate in, what you have learned, and why do you love 4-H. Those were like the 3 main talking points. So I have been working with an advocate for 4-H, a 4-H supporter who's a mom, who's just a mom further in the process, where her kids are now out of 4-H, but she homeschooled them and she did 4-H, and so now she's back doing the supporting for 4-H. So I kind of paired up with her, like, what do you need? Because she was doing a call out, like, I need somebody here and I need somebody there. So I will tell you, our day at the Capitol, my children spoke to Senator Grimsley, who is absolutely amazing. I love her to pieces. I've known her 12 years ago. Love her. They got to speak with a senator's aide, Senator Negron's aide. So they actually spoke to one senator and one senator's aide. Not bad stuff. And then they met with and spoke to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 representatives. 6 representatives, 2 senators. One was the aide for the head of the House of Representatives. I mean, like, not bad, right? Not in my life have I ever spoken to that many politicians that are in office making laws, and yet my kids did. And what was even more amazing about this whole experience was we ended up pairing up with the 4-H state officers. This was a big game changer for my kids. So we paired up with the state officers, and we pretty much ran the Capitol, the Senate, and the House of Representative buildings with the state officers. And we would be with some state officers, and then we'd end up with others. And we were going through all the different places, and we got to watch them in action. I think I can speak pretty well, and if I need to, I can speak in front of, you know, government bodies really well. My socks were knocked off by these state officers. Only then to find out that they are actually being trained. And these state officers are juniors and seniors in high school. And the 4-H state officers are actually being trained at the University of Florida how to speak and how to speak well. And I seen it in action, and it was breathtaking. I mean, breathtaking. It was such an amazing experience. You know, and I've been talking to my children. I'm like, these are the things you could do at the state level for 4-H. And these are the things that you could aspire to, the whole 9 yards. None of that meant anything until they seen it in action. And they were running around and watching these high schoolers with such authority, with such, let me just correct that, with such authority, with such polishedness. I mean, polished better than most adults. It was insane. I was just like, yeah, kids, I really wouldn't mind you being that, just so you can get that training that they have. And it was neat because they were able to ask questions of the officers, and it was a turning point, and it really turned on the aspirations for my kids in 4-H, which was amazing. But this is homeschool. So how does this relate to homeschooling? Well, 4-H is a vehicle that we use to get out there for everything. I mean, I know I talk about this a lot. I am a major proponent for 4-H. I believe it's probably the best program at my fingertips for my kids because it has diversity. It's not, you know, cows, plows, and sows. It is, everybody is inclusive. Everybody. Every religion, every whatever. It is inclusive, and it doesn't matter where you live. You can be part of this. In fact, it's set up that 4-H is set up on military bases. So when a family moves from base to base, their children can take their 4-H projects and continue it wherever they go, and there's always that sense of home, which is pretty darn amazing. The other part is we learned a lot about how the budget is made, and we didn't know this. And so this was really big stuff that my kids learned. So last year, our line item for 4-H got vetoed. This year, we realized that we have to actually have, when they're creating the budget for the state of Florida, the Senate comes up with their budget and the House of Representatives comes up with another budget. And then they take their line item budgets and they get together and they meet. And if you're not on one of those lists, you're not on the budget. That's just it. If you can't make one of those lists, you're out. But just because you're on one does not mean that you are guaranteed. At that point, you have to then be approved by both sections, and then they come up with the money, and then there you go. So in our case, this round for 4-H, we're on the Senate. Thank you, Denise Grimsley, because she is fighting for us. And now we need to be on the House. So this gave us time, and now the program that we were at the Capitol was supposed to last till 3 o'clock. But because we found out this information towards the end, we continued to educate, combing up and down and chasing people down and letting them know why 4-H is important. This is what my kids actually not just read about the way the laws are written. They're not read about the way things are decided on. They were living it. Oh my goodness, they were living it. They were marching the halls. They were understanding, even at 13, even in elementary school, their voice was important and it was heard. And one of the things my child liked about being in 4-H and having this whole situation of that day, one of my kids said, you know, I really like the fact that my opinion and what I have to say is valuable even though my age is so much younger. And I was like, yeah, that's how it works. So it was just an absolutely amazing day. I mean, we didn't know, and I didn't really pre-educate like how the government works and how the whole program works at the Capitol. We just kind of went in with our 4-H task, and from there it opened up our mind and our brain. And so it was really neat because then I began asking questions on our ride home, like, well, why do you think there's a difference, or what is the difference between a representative and senator? Do you think about that? I mean, they're in separate buildings. And they're like, no. I'm like, well, why would you think there'd be two different groups? Which one has more? Which one has less? And it was really neat because while we were there, we got, you know, the pictures. I love these. I have to put these in covers of the senators and the representatives. And we had a lot of questions. So now it's spurred on this desire to learn more, which is really, really awesome. I will tell you, if you are interested in finding out more of what's going on with everything with its 4-H and FFA, I will tell you, there's a group. It's called Florida 4-H and FFA supporters. I'm going to put a link to the group. It's an open group. There's a lot of information you can keep up with. The fight's still not done, but I love the fact that my children are now kind of engaged in the fact that they can write letters, and they understand now why they're writing letters to help, and why their voice is heard even when they're middle school and elementary school writing letters. So I can't even begin to say enough. Again, you know, I'm a lover of 4-H. I believe 4-H is a great program. It's a great program for a large family, that it's affordable, and that it's open to the ages, it's open to the genders. So I'm not running around bringing my kid here or bringing my kid there or bringing my kid here. The other aspect is it's interest-based. I mean, as a homeschool unit study, you know, 4-H just takes the cake there, which is really, really neat. I'm going to bring you more information about 4-H because I just feel like it's not enough, and it's an underutilized program for homeschoolers that is government funded. You know, it is definitely one of those. And it's just it's learning by doing, making the best better. Are there things that they run off? I will tell you the other aspect too is it won't be this year, but next year we will participate in legislature, which I believe every state has this, and it's for high school seniors, or not seniors, it's for high schoolers, for those coming into high school or those in high school. And it's a mock legislature where you actually have a mock bills, committees, lobbyists, I think it's representatives, the whole 9 yards you have set up. And they do a week of doing mock runs, and you really get your hands in. I mean, this is like the civics course, a state government course that gives the kids like an actual experience. You have to check it out. It's beyond belief, worth every bit. They stay for a week. It's like a Monday through Friday, and they have run of the Capitol, you know, to some degree. And they go through and they run through the mocks. And then so your first year, you're lobbyist, and the second year, and you kind of graduate levels between each year that you participate. So anyways, I've taken your time up long enough. It was amazing. I didn't even tell you about the fact that we stopped with an ecologist and did a guided walk on Florida trees. So we got our science in. But I will tell you that there's nothing I could have really lit my kids up about government like taking them to the Capitol and having them busy participating in the way government works, in the way us as members and as people can participate at even the most basic level of telling our story. So anyways, I'll talk to you later. I hope this motivates you to continue on and finding ways to field trip your homeschool out and just have an amazing day. I will talk to you later. Peace out.